So there's been a lot of transfer news and updates in regards to Manchester United, not just the January window, but potential plans for the summer. Some of the names being brought up are Gay, Semenyo, Harry Kane, a midfield move, Wharton, Baleva, Elliot Anderson. Updates on Bruno's future. There was reports that Bruno had already agreed to leave Manchester United to come out this week, and as I mentioned in that video, I said take it with a pinch of salt. Romano said that Bruno has not agreed to leave Manchester United. Obviously, there's rumours and speculation of Xerxes and Maino going in January as well. And actually, it might be October, but there's quite a lot of transfer news in regards to United going about. So we're going to talk about that. We've got an injury boost coming in that we're going to discuss. And also, we'll talk a little bit about some of the Saudi money potentially coming in as well that can help out Manchester United. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a 10-minute roundup video. Well, I'm going to round up all the latest Manchester United news into 10 minutes for you guys. I do apologise there's no live stream today, but I'm just ridiculously busy. But I will try and be live tomorrow. So let's dive into the news. But if you do enjoy today's video, feel free to hit that like button, and you're welcome to subscribe if you're new and want to stay updated on all the Manchester United news every single day. So starting off with a positive. Now, this has probably been mentioned already this week, but Lisandro Martinez to return to first-team training after the international break has been said. Leach is on the way back, and Leach is hoping to play by the end of October. Now, Leach is probably not going to be ready to start until at least the end of November, but Leach is in a position where he wants to get 15-20 minutes off the bench end of October. And I think while defence has actually been fine this season, I think it would be really good to have Leach back. Luke Shaw's been playing. Luke Shaw playing for Man United in 2025 is still pretty crazy. But to be fair to Luke Shaw, apart from the Manchester City game, I think he's played quite well for us. I think, Luke Shaw's one of those players that, if he's not playing well for us, everyone's going to talk about it, like the low. But he is actually playing all right for us at the moment, Luke Shaw. But he's one of those players that, we'd rather Leach be there. It'd be nice to see Aiden Heaven get opportunities. It's a bit of a shame we've not seen Aiden Heaven. And I think the biggest blow about not being in the Europa League and being knocked out the Carabao Cup earlier this season is Aiden Heaven, Xerxes, Maino, all good players, not getting a load of minutes right now. Leach to come back into that. I think he will take Luke Shaw's spot. And some people spoke about could Luke Shaw go at wing back? Doubt it. Dorgo had a really good game for Denmark last night at wing back, actually assisting Højlund. So that is the latest on the injury front, and I want to talk about the transfer news. So, Duncan Castles did a report about a month ago that Ruben Amorim had dinner with Semenyo, that Semenyo had agreed to join Man United or something, and then he didn't like the wages, so then he went and signed a new deal at Bournemouth. But there was reports that Semenyo was ridiculously close to joining Manchester United. There was that Duncan Castles report. Now, right now, Semenyo has probably been the best player in the Premier League this season. He's been immense, and that's not just because of FPL. He's actually been really good. And there is reports coming out from the likes of Alex Crook that United is still monitoring Antoine Semenyo after discussions with him this summer. Bournemouth believe he's now worth over £75 million. Semenyo's price will have gone up big time because of how good he's been this season, but I'm pretty sure when he signs that new contract, it had a £75 million release clause in. And right now, Semenyo is playing like a £75 million person. The thing about Semenyo that I like is he could go at wing back in Amorim's system because he's electric at getting up and down. And I think that one thing that I will give to Amorim is he doesn't have the wing backs to fully utilise his system. We talk about five at the back and lacking attacking wise, but we don't have the wing backs to fully do that. Dorgo is a back four player. Mazraoui is a back four player. Delo's is a back four player. We are so much better with Ahmad on that right, linking up with Mbeumo, and if you had Semenyo and Cunha linking up on the left, it is very nice. But also, if we do go back to a manager that plays a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3 on an Amorim and gets sacked, we need a pace outlet out wide. We've got Mbeumo and Ahmad on the right. You've got Cunha and Sesko as central options. Cunha can play on the left, but we kind of want that pace outlet that Rashford and Garnacho gave us on the left. And I've always said this, if Casemiro goes, Baleba in. If Bruno goes, potentially Wharton in, or maybe someone, because we can't get Cole Palmer, or maybe someone more creative. Maguire goes, Gay, Rashford and Garnacho. I think Semenyo is sort of an obvious replacement there in terms of the pace outlet. I would be a massive fan of Semenyo. The problem is that Liverpool are going to be looking at him next year. They need a winger. Gakpo's been there. Salah's on the way down. So Liverpool are going to be looking at Semenyo. You've also got to take into account the fact that Tottenham may go back for him. I think we can beat Tottenham to a player, but they get Champions League football. We don't next year. There's always that. I think if we don't get Champions League football and other clubs too, we're at a disadvantage because this will be 3 years without Champions League football. Chelsea may look at him because Chelsea seem to buy like 19-year-old wingers rather than good wingers. So there's going to be competition for Semenyo, but I would love him. Another player that I think will go to Liverpool, and there will be immense competition for because obviously Tottenham wanted him, Newcastle wanted him, but I think he's going to go to Liverpool, is Gay. But it has been reported that Manchester United are ready to rival Liverpool for the signing of Crystal Palace captain Mark Gay. I'd love Mark Gay. Lindelof and Evans went, they weren't replaced. Maguire could go. It makes sense. I'd love Mark Gay. He played in the back three. Fantastic player, fantastic leader. I'm all for signing Mark Gay, especially as he'll be available on a free in the summer. And Mark Gay on a free would be very nice. I'm not going to lie to you. Mark Gay on a free would be very nice. But they did say the Englishman has been identified as a long-term replacement for Maguire. Romano did come out and say that there's conversations going on around Maguire signing a new deal. So Maguire's on 190k a week. United are not going to offer him that. But United want to get Maguire, to commit to another year or two on a reduced salary. That being said, we can still look at upgrading on Maguire. I think if you had Gay and De Ligt for central centre-back options, you have Mazraoui and Euro for right centre-back options, and you have Leacher and Heaven for left centre-back options. I think that's really, really strong options. Gay can also play left centre-back. There's also been talks of United getting a striker in. Now, I really don't want Xerxes to go because I really liked what we saw from Xerxes just before he got injured last season. And unfortunately, we've not had the game time to give him the minutes to get up to scratch. But I really liked Xerxes, and sadly, he's just not getting the opportunities. And Sesko has been doing quite well, actually, despite people trying to make out it's a flop. But I think if Harry Kane came in, that would be the end of Xerxes, despite Xerxes' age. And Ben Jacobs has mentioned this many times, but he said he can see a scenario where Man United move for Harry Kane. He might come in to provide not just goals, but be a mentor. I think if we're in the Champions League next season, to have Harry Kane come in for 2 seasons and Sesko can learn and grow from Harry Kane would be amazing. I think Harry Kane is one of the most underrated footballers ever. I think because he hasn't got pace on FIFA, he's not this cool fancy name, that I feel like he's like underrated. He's got 11 goals and 3 assists already in the Bundesliga. He got 26 goals last season in the Bundesliga and 36 goals in his first season in the Bundesliga, which I think was a record. I can't really remember. Now, of course, this is the Bundesliga. The stats you get in the Bundesliga, you never get in the Premier League. But Harry Kane has 18 goals and 3 assists this season in 827 minutes. Harry Kane is averaging a goal contribution every 45 minutes this season. He's got 4 goals in the Champions League as well. What Harry Kane is doing this season is not normal. And yes, he is 32 years of age. Yes, he's a lot older, but it's actually ridiculous how good Kane is. If you include international goals, I think it's October and he's already got 20 goals in all comps for club and country this season, which is absolutely mad. I think United could go for Harry Kane. Not that he fully suits Amorim's system, but I think if you can get Harry Kane for £50 million and you're saying 2 years for Sesko to learn from, I wouldn't be shocked. But I do think United's priority is going to be midfielders in the summer. Talking of midfielders, Romano did come out and say there's a possibility of Manchester United going for a midfielder in January. Now, Carlos Baleba, if he continues playing the way he is, Brighton might want to, cash in on him in January. I've always felt that Baleba, Wharton, Elliot Anderson would be very difficult deals to do in January. I feel like they're summer deals because they're big deals. I think Baleba's the most likely of them. There has been rumours of Conor Gallagher, who I do not want, but midfield could be one to watch in January. There's also players like Lucien Agome of Sevilla. There's a lot of other names out there that we should be keeping an eye on. But yeah, the possibility of Manchester United going for a midfielder in January has been confirmed by Romano, which would be good to see. Romano then spoke about the Bruno contract situation. He said, I can guarantee that nothing has been agreed between Bruno and Saudi for 2026. The Saudis have wanted Bruno for a long time, but nothing's agreed. This is in response to Indy Kala trying to come out and say that, Bruno had already agreed to leave and go to Saudi and United were going to get like £90 million or something crazy, but no, nothing has been agreed, and I don't think anyone is shocked by that. I think it'd be weird if something was agreed this early on. I think Bruno's not going to make a decision about his future to the end of the season. I think if we're in the Champions League next year, he'd stay. I think if we have another crap season, I think he could go. But anyway, continuing on, it was also mentioned by the Mail Sport that United could bank in more than 10 million if they strike a deal to visit Saudi Arabia this season. One of the options would be to participate in the Reader Season Cup. So United, obviously, because we've got barely any games, are looking to potentially organise some friendlies in Saudi in November, and they could make 10 million from that if they play like Ronaldo's team, which is crazy. And do you know what? We probably need an extra 2 or 3 games as long as no one gets injured, because I don't actually think we've got enough games so far. I think, we'd normally have those extra 3-4 games being in the EFL Cup, but because we went out to Grimsby, which is a disgrace, we're lacking games. Anyway, thank you for watching, people. See you next time. Bye.